All right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, welcome to the next video. Reading Alice in the Wonderland, Chapter 4. The Rabbit Sense and a Little Bill. It was the white rabbit, trotting slowly back again and looking anxiously about as it went, as if it had lost something, and she had it muttering to itself, the Duchess of my dear paws of my four whiskers. Don't get me executed, as sure as parrots are parrots. Where can I have dropped them, I wonder? Alice guessed is the moment that it was looking for Fan and the pair wet kid gloves, and she very good-naturedly began hunting about for them. But they were nowhere to be seen. Everything seemed to have changed since her swim in the pool, and the great hall with the glass table and the little door had vanished completely. Very soon the rabbit noticed Alice as she went hunting about and called out to her an angry tone. Why, Mary Ann, what are you doing here? Run home this moment and fetch me a pair of clothes and fan, quick now. And Alice was so much frightened that she ran off at once in the direction it pointed to, without trying to explain the mistake that it had made. It, it took me for this his housemate, she said to herself as she ran. How surprised he'll be when he finds out who I am. But I'd better take him his fan and gloves, that is. If I can find them, as she said this, she came upon a neat little house, on the door of which was a bright brass plate with the name W. Rabbit engraved upon it. She went in without knocking and hurried upstairs in a great fear lest she should meet the real Mary Ann and be turned out of the house before she had found fan and gloves. How queer it seems, Alice said to herself, to be going message for a rabbit. I suppose Dinah'll be sending me a message next. And she began fancying the sort of thing that would happen. Miss Alice, come here, recently, and get ready for your walk. Coming in a minute, nurse, but I've got to watch this mouse hole till Dina comes back and see that the mouse doesn't get out. Only I don't think Alice went on that they'd let Dina stop in the house if it began ordering people about like that. By this time, she said she had found her way into a tidy little room with a table in the window, and on it and she had hoped to find a two or three pairs of tiny white kid clothes. She took up the fan and a pair of clothes and was just going to leave the room when her eye fell upon a little bottle that stood near the looking glass. There was no label this time with the words "Bring me," but nevertheless she uncorked it and put it to her lips. I know something interesting is sure to happen, she said to herself. Whenever I eat or drink anything, so I just see what this bottle does. I do hope it'll make me go large again. Oh, really, I'm quite tired with being such a tiny little thing. I did so indeed, and much sooner than she had expected. Before she had drunk half the bottle, she found her head pressing against the ceiling and had to stoop to save her neck from being broken. She hastily put down the bottle, saying to herself, "That's quite enough. I hope shan't grow any more as it is. I can't get out and the door. I wish I had drunk quite so much." Alice! It was too late to wish that. She went on and growing, and very soon to kneel down on the floor. In another minute there was not even room for this, and she tried to reflect on lying down with one elbow against the door, and the other arm curled round her head. Still went on growing, and as a last resort, she put one arm out a window and one foot up the chimney and said to herself, "No, I can do no more, whatever happens." What will become of me? Luckily for Alice, the little magic bottle, and now its full effect, and she grew no larger. Still, it was very uncomfortable, and as there seemed to be no sort of chance of her ever getting out of the room again, no wonder she felt unhappy. It was much pleasanter at home, thought poor Alice, when one wasn't always growing larger and smaller, and being ordered about by mice and rabbits. I almost wish I hadn't gone down that rabbit hole, and yet, it's rather curious, the short of life. I wonder what can happen to me. When I used to read fairy tales, I fancied that kind of thing never happened. That I wonder in the middle of one. There's ought to be a book written about me. That right, there ought. And when I grow up, I'll write one, but I'm grow up. She added sorrowful tone. At least there's no room to grow up for anyone here. But then, thought Alice, so I never get any older than am I now. There'll be a comfort one way or another to old woman, but then always to have lesson to learn. Oh, I shouldn't like that. Oh, you foolish Alice, she answered herself. How can you learn a lesson here? Why there's hardly room to you and no room at all for any lesson look at lesson books. And she went on, taking first one side and then the other, and making quite conversation of it altogether. But after a few minutes, she heard a voice outside and stopped to listen. Marianne said the voice, fetch me my gloves this moment. Then there came a little pattering of feet on all stairs. Alice knew it was the rabbit coming to look for her, and she trembled till she shook the house, quite forgetting that she was now about 1,000 times as large as the rabbit, and had no reason to be afraid of it. Presently the rabbit came up to the door and tried to open it, but as the door opened inwards, and Alice's elbow was pressed hard against it, an attempt proved a failure. Alice heard it and said to herself, then I'll go round and get in at the window. That you won't, thought Alice, and after waiting till she finished, she heard the rabbit just under the window. She suddenly spread out her hand and made a snatch into the air. She did not get hold of anything, but she had a little shake and fall, and crushed broken glass from which she concluded that it was just possible it had fallen into a cucumber frame or something of the sort. Next came an angry voice, the rabbit, pat, pat, what are you? And then, voice she had never heard before. Sure, then I'm here. Dig you for apples, your Hannah. Dig you for apples indeed, said the rabbit angrily. Here, come and help me for this, son of broken glass. Don't tell me, Pat, what is in the window? Sure, it, it's an arm, your Hannah. He pronounces a room. A room. It's an arm? Because you ever saw one that size quite fills the whole window. Sure it does, your Hannah, but it was an arm for that. Well, it's good for Mrs. there, and at any rate, go and take it away. There was a long silence after this. Alice could only hear whispers now and then, such as, sure, I don't like it, yeah, Hannah, at all. Just as I tell you, you forward. At last, she spread out her hand again and made another snatch in the air. This time, there were two little shrieks and two more uh, shrieks and more sounds of broken glass. What a number of cucumber frames there must be, thought Alice. I wonder what they'll do next. As for pulling me out of the window, I only wish they could. I'm sure I don't want to stay here any longer. She waited for some time without hearing anything more. At last came a rumbling of little cartwheels and the sound of many voices all singing together. She made out of the wood. Where's the other ladder? Why I hadn't to bring but one. Bill's got the other bill. Fetch it here, lad. Here, put them on this corner. No, tie them together first. They don't reach half height enough yet. Oh, they'll do well enough. Don't be particular here, Bill. Catch hold of this rope will be the roof bit. Mind that loose slate. Oh, it's coming down. It's below. It's below. A lot fast. Now who did that? It was Bill. I fancy you to go down the chimney. Nay, I am shut now. You do it. That I won't then. Bill's got to go down. Here's Bill. The man says you've got to go down the chimney. Chimney. Oh, so Bill got to come down and chimney. Has he? Said Alice to herself. Why does seem to put everything upon Bill? I wouldn't be in the Bill's place for a good deal. This fireplace is enormous to be sure, but I think I can kick a little. She drew her foot as far down the chimney as she could, and waited till she had a little animal she could guess of what sort it was, scratching and scrambling about in the chimney close above her. Then saying to herself, "This is Bill." She gave one sharp kick and waited to see what would happen next. The first thing she heard was a general chorus of "There goes Bill." Then the rabbit's voice alone, "Catch him, you by the hedge." Then silence, and then another confusions of voices. "Hold up his head, Randy now. Don't choke him. How was it, old fellow? What happened to you? Tell us about it." Last came a feeble squeaking voice that Bill thought Alice. "Well, I hardly know no more," sang ye. "I'm better now, but I'm a deal too flustered to tell you. All I know is something comes at me like a jack in the box, but I goes like skyrocket." "So you did, old fellow," said the other. "You must burn the house down," said the rabbit voice, and Alice got out loud, "Good. If you do, I'll set dinner at you." There was a dead silence instantly, and Alice thought to herself, "I wonder what they will do next if they have any sense to take a roof." After a minute or two of the began moving again, Alice heard the rabbit says, "A barrelful will do to begin with." A barrelful of what? Thought Alice, but she had not long to doubt, for the next moment a shower of little pebbles chips came rattling in the window and some of them hit her in the face. "I'll put stop to this," she said to herself and shouted out. "You'd better not do that again," which produced another dead silence. Alice noticed with some surprise that the pebbles were running into little cakes as she lay on the floor and bright idea into her head. "If I eat one of these cakes," she thought, "it's sure to make some change in my size, and if it can possibly make me larger, it must make me smaller, I suppose." She swallowed one of the cakes and was delighted to find that she began shifting directly. As soon as she was small enough to get through the door, she ran out of the house and found quite a crowd of little animals and birds waiting outside. The poor little lizard, Bill, was in the middle. Uh, She swallowed one of the cakes and was delighted to find that it began shaking directly as soon as she was small enough to get through the door. She ran out of the house and found quite a crowd of little animals and birds and waiting outside. The poor little wizard Bill was in the middle bay helped two guinea pigs who were giving it something out of a bottle. They all made a rush at Alice the moment she appeared, but she ran off as hard as she could and soon found herself safe in a thick wood. "The first thing I've got to do," said Alice to herself as she wandered about in the wood, "is to go to my right size again. And the second thing is to find my way into that lovely garden. I think that will be the best plan." It sounded an excellent plan, no doubt, and very neatly simply arranged. So the only difficult was that it was here no smallest idea what to say about it. And while she was feeling about endlessly among the trees, a little sharp bar just over her head made her look up and look hard. An enormous puppy was looking down at her with her largest round eyes and feebly stretching out one of paw, trying to touch her poor little thing, said Alice in a coaxing tone, and she tried hard to whistle to it, but she was terribly frightened all the time at the thought that it might be hungry, in which case it would be very likely to eat her up in spite of all her coaxing. Hardly knowing that he said, she picked up a little bit of stick and held it out to the puppy. Whereupon the puppy jumped into the air off all its feet at once with a yelp of delight and rushed at the stick and made believe to worry it. Then Alice dodged behind with Thistle to keep herself to begin run over and moment she appeared on the other side the puppy made Irie rush to the stick and tumbled head over heels hurried to get hold of it. Then Alice thinking was a very likely having a game to play chart horse and expecting every moment tempered under its feet, ran out of a whistle again, that puppy set itself against its stick, running and towards its time and long way back, and barking hoarsely all the time till at last it sat down a good way off, panting with its tongue hanging out of its mouth, and its great eyes half shut. This seemed to Alice a good opportunity for making her escape, so she sat up at once and ran till she was quite tired and out of breath until the puppy's bark sounded quite faint in the distance. "And yet, what a dear little puppy it was," said Alice as she leaned against the buttercup to rest herself and fanned herself with one of the leaves. "I should have liked teaching it tricks very much if I'd only been the right size to do it. Oh dear, I'd nearly forgotten what I've got to do grow up again. Let me see how it's to be managed. I suppose I ought to eat or drink something or other. But the great question is what?" The great question certainly was what. Alice looked around her flowers and blushed again over the only things that looked the right thing to eat or drink under the circumstance. There was a large mushroom growing near her about the same height as herself, and when she had looked under it, and on both sides of it, behind it, it occurred to her that she might as well look at and see what was on the top of it. She scratched herself up on tiptoe and peeped over the edge of mushroom, and her eyes immediately met those a large blue caterpillar that was sitting on the top, its arm folded, quietly smoking a long hookah and taking not smallest notice of her or of anything else. So that's all about chapter 4. I will move in the next video on chapter 5. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.